I'm Luke Story. For the past 22 years, I've been relentlessly committed to my deepest passion, designing the ultimate lifestyle based on the most powerful principles of spirituality, health, psychology, and personal development. The Lifestylist Podcast is a show dedicated to sharing my discoveries and the experts behind them with you. Jim Poole, welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I love it here. I love your place.
Thanks, dude.
I love the energy.
Glad we got to hang out a little bit today before the show, too. We had the, every Wednesday, we've got the leaf blower here, and I keep forgetting to block out my calendar to make sure that I don't book recordings right at that time, and I always book them right at that time. And so the fortuitous nature of that event was we got to hang out and toy around a bit in the biohacking haven that is the Luke Story Inc. headquarters.
Well, you're a busy man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a lot going on.
I do. Good stuff.
Sneak in here, get the leaf. I made the leaf blower come at 3. I said, hey, do me a favor.
Hey, man, I'll
show up a little early.
I'll give you $50.
Yeah.
Blow on that thing for a while so we can hang out.
Exactly.
But I'm real stoked for this second conversation. In the first episode we did, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I told you before we started, this is probably going to be about 60 minutes, and then we end up going some 3 hours.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, and we went deep into neuroscience, psychology, stress relief, relaxation, meditation, all the things that I love to learn about and talk about. And of course, the NuCalm technology, the company that you represent. You know, I've been using NuCalm ever since we did that interview, maybe a little bit before, actually. And it's just become part of my daily routine. And it has replaced so many different styles of meditation, different relaxation apps. It's just kind of the all-in-one thing. And the reason I wanted to have you back on is because for those of you that heard the last one, you'll understand why. And for those of you that haven't, I recommend you go back and listen to that one because we did like a super, super deep dive. But I got a lot of feedback after we did that episode from people who were really interested in neuroscience and this approach to restoring your body and your mind, but found that the old pricing structure of NuCalm was prohibitive because it was like a few $1,000s. It was kind of a rich man or woman's game at that time. And that was fine for the pro athletes and military and people that could afford it. But the regular folks were like, this sounds awesome, but this sucks. I can't afford it. So
it was a teaser.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a teaser podcast.
Yeah. But then you guys made some changes. So we're going to talk about that later in the interview, which I'm really excited about because I think literally everyone needs this in their life. I really believe in it that strongly. And so I'm excited that you guys made these changes. We're going to talk about it in a bit. But before that, let's go ahead and really add some value and give people an understanding of what we're going to be talking about and what the purpose of using a technology like this is. So I'd like to start with just a little bit of your background. So you've had a diverse career and, you know, what brought you into the neuroscience space to begin with?
Always a curiosity on neuroscience. In fact, got accepted to an MD, PhD program for neuropsychopathology. 8 years of school. And I said, no, I think I'd rather start a family. So I went to business school instead. Raised by 2 psychotherapists. So most people would say you're inherently crazy from your environment. Also, we'd had a very welcome house of crazy people. So I think always a curiosity, very strong female, compassionate mother figure in our life. And so always had a lot of empathy. Always were able to kind of observe in a manner that was easy for me to feel energy from people. So my course of my life, like anybody, took a circuitous route. And it wasn't until 2009 where the neuroscientist who invented this product called our consulting firm because he was working with a dentist to alleviate state anxiety in a dental chair. And the dentist happened to be a key opinion leader who had heard that our consulting firm made another dentist a lot of money through one of the largest private equity acquisitions in the history of the industry. So a very strange path. Dr. Holloway, being an exceptionally gifted, talented neuroscientist, quantum physicist, clinician, serving in a clinical environment, most people of his clientele were traumatized, comorbid with addiction. And so he developed this technology. And how he got my attention, which is not easy to do, especially if you've invented something, I typically would not take on that initiative, was, Jim, I've invented something that quickly, predictably, and safely relaxes the mind and body within minutes without side effects. I'd never heard that sentence before. My initial thought was marijuana, but marijuana has side effects. I'm serious. I was like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about.
And also not very good for people that are trying to get sober.
No, not good for people trying to get sober. Not good
Welcome
for
to rehab. Here's the joint.
Not good for, the snack diet. So we dove in on a 10-week discovery into this because when he explained what it was he invented, I knew even less. But we've been at this for 11 years. And so it's funny. We always had the initiative and always had the vision and the mission to solve stress, anxiety, fear, depression, and poor sleep for humanity. You can't do it in a manner where you have a Class 3 medical device and you had all the regulatory and all the stuff that's associated with, hardcore science. So we talked in December, and you're right. We were kind of on the back end of a 4.5-year curve that brought us here. So for me, I've done a lot. I've been inside a lot of companies. I've had a lot of fun doing what we did, but I never was a part of something that felt a sense of purpose, ever. Mm-hmm. And then this just has always felt natural. And at some point, just like what you're doing with your career, you become ingrained in it, and you don't know where your DNA ends and where the company's DNA. And so it's just part of my being. And I never feel overburdened. I never feel anything besides gratitude and honor to lead this enterprise, because I know what we're doing is tremendous. I know we're helping people on a scale that's just magnificent. And it's really simple. Conceptually, Luke, all we're doing is helping you manage the negative consequence of stress. But as we talked about the first time, humans are really bright. We're problem solvers. We're exceptionally talented. Our brains are incredible. But we're really limited when it comes to something intangible. Because you can't see stress or smell it and touch it, you're not even sure if it's even there. You trick yourself, but it's there. And the anatomy and physiology of the negative consequence of not addressing stress will kill everybody. It's kind of a big deal. It's kind of really important that people are made aware how stress kills you, because nobody knows. No one's educated on it. It's not that difficult. It's anatomy and physiology. If you don't get restorative sleep and you don't manage stress and you're too high in cortisol and you interrupt the gut bacteria and you do all these things over the course of time, your cells break down, the mitochondria is not restored, the cells don't clean their toxins, the cells forget their job, communication doesn't happen, disease starts, disease proliferates, you get stressed out because you have a disease, and it's a cascading effect. So I personally would like not to die of a nasty disease, whether it's immunosuppressive disease of my stomach or cancer, something like that. And it's all stress modulated. So that's what we're doing.
That's interesting you mentioned the gut biome, because over the past few years, I mean, thankfully this happens less and less frequently, but at times of acute stress, a business deal issue, the end of a romantic relationship, having to move suddenly and not have a place, these kind of big life upheavals, a death in the family, this kind of thing. I just had a close friend of mine pass away, and super, super stressful in a sense, just because of processing the grief and having something happen sudden. But one thing I noticed in the past couple of years, when I would have a bout of extreme stress where I'm in that fight or flight thing and I just can't get out of it, is my digestion, no pun intended, goes to shit immediately. Sleep and digestion. And I go, what's wrong with me? I'm eating the same stuff. I mean, I have the diet pretty locked in at this point. I cheat a little here and there and pay the price, but overall, I know what my body likes and what it doesn't. And I tend to follow that diet. But even in that, in times of stress, my gut gets wrecked.
It's got nothing to do with the food that you put in your belly. It's got everything to do with the cortisol. It's wrecking.
So how does stress affect your digestion? Which of course then, as you indicated, affects your ability to detox and your ability to assimilate nutrients.
Stress is designed to protect you. So when your central nervous system feels like you're in danger, it activates fight or flight, or if you're going through grief, loss, confusion, denial, depression, anxiety. And it's a flood of cortisol. It's a flood of a stress hormone that interrupts the gut, and there's too much acid in there. It's simple. You have a brain in your gut. We call it intuition. Scientists call it the enteric brain in your gut. Everything's related from your tummy to your brain. So when your fight or flight is on And your reptilian brain is saying, we're in danger. This is a bad place for us to be. We need to get out of this place. It's just flooding your body with that cortisol and adrenaline and all the excitatory neurons and toxins. So yeah, as soon as you eat, within about 5 minutes, you're sitting on the toilet. And it's not comfortable. And you're not getting the nutrients you need because stress is winning the battle. And I think we shared this last time. If the reptilian brain in our fight or flight is 40 million years evolved, your frontal cortex and prefrontal cortex are only 4 million years evolved. That's your cognition, emotional stability, rational thinking, ability to talk yourself out of something. So the reptilian brain that's activating that cortisol response has a 36 million year head start.
Wow. So this is why when you're starting to trip out and go into that fight or flight state, and if you have some self-awareness, as you know, many people listening to the show would from meditation and just being mindful about your state, even when it gets triggered, you know it's being triggered. And even if you know the thing you're freaking out about is not real, the threat is perceived, you still can't stop freaking out.
You cannot.
So that's because the reptilian brain is saying, we're going to die, we have to protect ourselves, or run, hide, kill, etc. And even if your prefrontal cortex, which is relatively new, you know, in contrast, is saying, no, it's fine. Like, you're just imagining this. It's all in your head. That doesn't help you get out of it.
It does not.
And that's so frustrating. If, you know, when you have some self-awareness and you're like, okay, I just got this text or, you know, trolled on social media, and your rational mind goes, this means nothing. This is meaningless. This does not affect my life. But there's a part of you that's threatened, and you can't talk yourself out of that feeling.
You see a text of something that's really emotionally triggered, immediately your mouth gets dry. All of this happens in a nanosecond. You're not thinking through. You're not saying, hey, this is a trigger. I should prepare myself for battle. No, your central nervous system is constantly surveying your life, emotionally, psychologically, and in where you live, for safety, security, and familiarity. That's its primary function, to protect you. When it senses, through any sense or through emotion, that you are in danger, at risk, or fear, and triggers that response, the nanosecond to go to the amygdala, and the amygdala then triggers what's called the HPA axis, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal cortex. It's a unilateral axis. Once that's triggered, it's all hands on deck. The alarm bells are ringing. So it's not that you have a choice to think rationally. There's no blood flow. Blood flow is cut off to the frontal cortex. Why? Because all your resources are coming to your visceral organs to fight. So you're not even talking yourself out of it. If you look at someone who's in a fight or flight response, whether it's a near-death experience or a fight, if you look them in the eyes, they will look like a shark because they're completely cognitively dissociated. When you are trying to break up a fight, the key is to turn the people's eyes away from the opponent. That's how you break up a fight, because otherwise you're locked in. You're not thinking. You are surviving. So NuCalm comes to the world at a really poignant time.
You're not kidding.
I mean, it's really,
oh my God.
It's beyond crazy, all the variables we're having to address as humans.
Oh, man.
And it's here to level the playing field and say, you know what, reptilian brain, you're not in danger. Life in America isn't that challenging. You're not struggling to live every day. When nightfall comes, predators aren't coming to kill you. So let's stay in this. And it's really about the autonomic nervous system. How do we stay in balance away from the sympathetic nervous system that's driving the cortisol and all the acid? How do we get into the parasympathetic through meditation, mindfulness? But if we think for 1 second, if we don't have the humility to believe that a 40 million year fight or flight mechanism that has been designed to keep us alive, if we think we can talk ourselves out of it, then we're not thinking clearly at all. Because where do you think phobias come from? Do you think a little bug is going to kill me? How many bugs can kill a man? How many? Not many. When you see a bug, why, for many people, does it elicit pure panic? And you can't talk them out of it. You can't say, that's just a little bug. Let that little bug live. No. If you want true fight or flight, be the bug that's looking up at a human with a flip-flop, hitting them at terminal velocity. That's fight or flight.
Right.
So a phobia is a great
Right.
example to the challenge that we have as humans to balancing our rational mind with the reptilian mind. And we have to give ourselves the understanding and humility to say, hey, when we're in that space, we have to find a way to cope, because you have to be removed from the stressful response to equilibrate. Here's the challenge, Luke. Most people don't equilibrate. Most people stay with the foot on the accelerator, and they're building more and more trauma. Little things build into bigger things, right? It's like you said, move, economic uncertainty, COVID virus, social unrest. There's so many moving parts that easily trigger you and just add on to this cascading mountain of stress, fear, anxiety, and depression. We're in a really tough place. We're in a tough place. I mean, our planet is out of balance. Our families are out of balance. Our communities are out of balance. Our schools are out of balance. Our politics are out of balance. Our international relationships are out of balance. We're out of balance. And every single one of us knows it. And then you're in COVID, and things that were simple to the central nervous system, simple pattern recognition. Okay, I'm going down Sunset Boulevard. There should be people at restaurants. There should be things. Your brain, it's all off now. Mm-hmm. So I can't, as a human, even rely on simple pattern recognition. I'm overstimulated just trying to get through a normal function. I mean, going to the grocery store early in COVID, you go to the grocery store, you have a mask on, you're not touched, you're looking around, then you get home and you're washing all your clothes. It's like, what is this? So everything has been turned upside down. And prior to COVID, we were already suffering through the second great age of anxiety. The first one was after World War I, when the world did not seem grounded. We were already there. And now you have the Me Too movement, and you have a galvanizing force of saying, hey, there's things here that are corrupt and need to change. You have racism and all the stuff happening there. Again, another catalyst. You have COVID. What is COVID? Well, it's a virus. Can you see it? No. Can you touch it? No. Can you feel it? No. Is it real? I don't know. Right? So you have all these things. It's just adding up. So many people, your audience, try to meditate. Good luck, man. Good luck turning off monkey mind when we're dealing with a heap of shit.
Especially if you, like myself, sometimes, unfortunately, I hate to admit this, but if you look at Twitter before you meditate, I've been struggling with this ever since cell phones came out, because I was meditating before cell phones were ubiquitous, and I always had this thing. I'd read my spiritual literature, especially when I was early in recovery. There were two certain books I would read every morning. That's the first thing you fucking did if you want to stay sober. I'd read those books, and I'd, get spiritual principles in mind, truths, knock myself in the head with those truths. Then I'd meditate and pray. And then I'd go out and interact in the world and make phone calls and stuff. And then when cell phones came to be, I mean, they were a lot less functional then. You couldn't get online as easy. But as cell phones became more connected to the web and you had smartphones, I had this habit of, I'm just going to check this one thing and then I'll meditate. And what I perceive has happened, and I still struggle with it to this day. Now, I have NuCalm. But the thing about NuCalm is, and you guys will learn this later, but the app is on your phone. It's not you go buy a device, which is great because then it's just on your phone. It's very convenient. But it's like, to click on the NuCalm neuroacoustic software and listen to a track, or click on Twitter, or whatever, Telegram, or these other apps that I have that are more private, and there's groups of people that I'm part of, and we're sharing really provocative information because it's, we're trying to avoid censorship and whatnot. But the more provocative that information, the more triggering it is to the nervous system, especially first thing in the morning. And I find on days where I do have the discipline to resist, and I'm like, nope, and I don't have any notifications on my phone except texts. I don't get any notifications. Well, now I got this, camera and alarm on my house. Someone tried to break in the other night. So now I have a notification.
It was me. I was just a couple days early.
If someone's on my porch. But man, the discipline it takes to go in and click my NuCalm icon rather than one of those other apps with so much going on in the world, it's actually really difficult. I think when things are at least feel more normal on the surface, it's like, I never used to follow news or politics or any of that, because it's just like, who cares? It's all the same. They put another bonehead in office. It's all just theater. And then a few years ago, it changed. The theater at least changed dramatically. The characters changed. And I started paying attention to some of that stuff. And then, the world has become so polarized. I feel it's incumbent upon me to stay alert to some degree at as to what's happening. Not like I have any power over it, but it's just intriguing. It's sticky, the clickbait of what kind of shit show is happening today. But I do notice if I activate that, even if rationally I'm like, no, I have a great life. I got a podcast today, like, a wonderful woman in my life, like great, cute dog. I'm eating well, everything's fine. Even rationally, if I look at that stuff and I start feeding into it before I've really checked in and calmed down with my center of who I really am, I do tend to have a lot more anxiety throughout the day.
Of course you do.
I can't shake that initial peak out into the world.
I think you have more discipline than you give yourself credit for. I think there's a subversive sabotage happening here because you definitely have the discipline not to click on. And you're giving power to strangers over your health. Don't click on it.
Thank you.
Never again.
Don't
do it.
Coach Jim.
Don't do it. I had the same issue. I mean, I run a global neuroscience company. I fly over the world. There's a lot of responsibility. It's an honor. It's a gratitude. It's also responsibility. And I used to have my phone on all the time in hotel rooms, and I would get texts from, Pakistan or wherever, and it'd wake me up all night. And then I had a realization about 5 years ago, wait a second. I don't need to let other people interrupt my health. I turn the phone off. It was so liberating. So now when I get up in a hotel room, I make a choice. Do I want to turn this on and activate? Because it's rarely 10 out of 10 is great news.
Yeah.
Or do I want to NuCalm first, reset myself, get to a place where I can respond to stimulation instead of react? That's all this is. Mm-hmm. It's giving you pause so that your brain chemistry is in a better place to look at things with a perspective that's not easily triggered. You do not have to look at Twitter and relinquish control over your health and well-being and your anxiety and your reptilian brain. Don't feed it. You're feeding it. You're challenging yourself by feeding into the reptilian brain and then saying, okay, I'm going to solve it with NuCalm. Don't do it.
Well, that's the thing. If we meditate, whether it's NuCalm or however we tune into that witness observer place in ourselves, which is in that quantum field primarily, right? That's where you live as consciousness, and then you're embodied, and embodied is where all the threats are because it's the body that's trying to protect itself. But when we check in with that first and remember who we are, fundamentally, that we're not this body in this house with this career and this partner and all that, then it seems that we have a buffer as we go throughout the day where there's a little bit of separation between perceived threat and real threat, right? Which there ultimately is no real threat because we're timeless, eternal beings, according to my calculations and observations and realizations. So I think it's incumbent upon us each to build the discipline, right? However we're checking in with our highest self first thing, especially first thing in the morning, in order to build that resilience. So when the material world starts chasing our ass throughout the day, or that we perceive that it is, we have that perspective that we don't need to attach to all of those dramas that are going on throughout the day.
In the morning, your cortisol is the highest. So in the morning, you're more vulnerable to be triggered.
Ooh, shit. I never thought about that.
So you're adding fuel. You're adding fuel and challenging your ability and giving people control over you.
Right.
People that don't deserve that control. They didn't ask for that control. They simply are doing this and you're receiving it, triggering you because your cortisol is at the highest level in the morning.
God damn it. I gotta break this habit. I've fallen in and out of it.
You did. You broke it already.
Okay,
Tomorrow you're not doing it.
We did it. So for people listening, do you have any tactics that they could use to prevent, whether they're using NuCalm or however else they're checking in with themselves in the morning and getting grounded? How can one resist the temptation? It's like really is so addictive to check in with what's going on in the shit show of the world that we find ourselves in now. Like, how can you find the discipline to take care of yourself first, then check in after your cortisol is dropped down to a manageable level and you can, as you said, respond rather than react?
It's not really a choice. You have to make yourself a priority. You have to build a habit and a pattern in the morning that serves you. Can't serve everybody else if you're broken or if you're fragile or if in the back of your mind you're worried about stuff that's inconsequential. Think about back in the day, maybe 10, 15 years ago when you went on vacation. It took 4 or 5 days to relax and get to that place of balance. And then you were on vacation for like 2 days and you had to leave. But that 5th day, you reach that place of wellness. All you have to do is turn your phone off for a day, because the next day, the world's still here. You know, we put a lot of pride in our organization, and we take care of humans. And when you're taking care of sick humans, or you're taking care of powerful professional athletes or the military, you're kind of on call all the time. But I warn and share with my team, say, hey, this isn't a 911. No one's dying. Maybe someone's having an anxious response. Maybe someone needs a little TLC and some love. But at what expense? So you have to take care of you. And COVID has changed the family dynamic. I think it's been a pattern interrupt. I think the world will never be the same again. I think people are seeing the rat race that they were in and the gerbil wheel that they were running on really had not as much consequence as they thought. You can't take your life and your job and your career path too seriously, because it's not going to fill you up. It doesn't fill up your bucket. Your bank account gets filled up, but your bucket gets depleted. It's really the people around you, where it's all about love and energy. Your being is about energy, and you have a choice. What kind of resonance do you want to have? I fall victim to this too. Sometimes I say, okay, it's 9:00. I've been up since 5. I've already walked. I've already drank my lemon water, or whatever routine I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to check CNN. I'm just going to see if the world is still here.
Yeah.
And then within 5 minutes, I am completely out of center. And I am agitated. I am impatient. I am confused. I feel disheartened. I'm just like, I don't need it. I've never turned off the news in the last 10 years and felt a sense of peace and calm. I just haven't. So we all fall victim to that. But tonight, when you go to bed, promise yourself tomorrow, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to be present, do things that are healthy for me. And I'm going to take care of my spouse and my children. And I'm going to check in with them, be present with them.
Do you think that people that have suffered trauma, emotional, physical trauma, et cetera, earlier in life are more predisposed to the addiction to drama and the addiction to fight or flight?
That's absolute.
How does that work?
The traumatized brain is beyond sad and beyond real. The whole mental health landscape is so confusing because, again, humans can't understand what they can't see. Your thoughts are real, right? The itty bitty shitty committee behind your eyes that tells you you're not good enough, or your audience doesn't like you, or you don't resonate with this person, or you have an insecurity about going to a party or meeting strangers, all that garbage. It's real because that's your reality. PTSD has a damage to the brain, a physiological damage to the brain, where red blood cells in cognition and what's called neuronal coherence is interrupted. So you think about it like a bruise. The hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, and frontal cortex are directly impacted to the brain of a traumatized victim. The hippocampus is your memory center. So for the rest of your existence, unless you get help, you're going to be perseverating over the trauma. Frontal cortex and prefrontal cortex. How do I rationally distance myself from the physiology? So that person's central nervous system, remember earlier I said, hey, your central nervous system governs you for security, familiarity, and protects you. When the central nervous system has been compromised and no longer trusts, whether you were sexually assaulted by a family member, whether you were physically assaulted, emotionally, it doesn't matter. The assault doesn't matter. Okay? It changes your central nervous system. Your central nervous system says, Luke, you messed this up, brother. You didn't protect us. So we are going to protect us. And we're never going to trust again. The central nervous system has given up trust. So we're always going to be hitting that amygdala because the slightest thing is going to keep us in a hypervigilant state. That's what leads to the comorbidity of alcoholism. This isn't confusing. This is really simple. Your brain is very sophisticated, and your brain knows intuitively that a sip of alcohol will take this pain away. So as you're driving down the road, you turn left to go to a bar. Intentional or not, your brain is basically dictating, I need help. And the fastest thing for me to take care of this psychic pain is to drink. It all makes perfect sense. Your body And your brain is a full ecosystem, a highly compensatory ecosystem. So when you fuck something up, it overcompensates. Look at the inflammation response to a wound. All these cytokines come. It's like, hey, chill out. This isn't a big wound. We don't need the army. But the body's like, hey. So the traumatized brain has an incredible adaptability to normalize what is not normal.
Ooh, that's good.
So people get stuck in their pain. They get stuck in that label. The challenge for trauma, and what just breaks my heart, is that it's all real. So your reactivity, your impatience, your judgmental, your critical, you're super critical of yourself, all those elements are real. The homicidal thoughts, the suicidal thoughts, all this just negative energy, it just cycles around. That reptilian brain is so on overdrive. And the challenge is, if I'm living in a high stress, poor sleep, high stress, poor sleep, high stress, poor sleep cycle, I'm never getting to a place where I can be observing in my life, where I can take a deep breath and reflect and pay attention. Can't do any of it because I am consumed with fear. So think about the last time you just said a friend of yours passed away. That's less fear than it is grief. But say the last time you were almost in a car accident or something. That fear grips you in a manner that's incredible. Think about that all day long and in your sleep. That's PTSD.
That's really profound, the part about when your brain is injured by trauma, that the abnormal becomes normal.
Yeah.
And that reminded me of different patterns that I've had to work to unravel, especially in interpersonal relationships. Having had many traumatic experiences with different humans as a kid of all different types, I was really perplexed for a long time as to why I would repeat those same dynamics with people that I would invite into my life.
Comfort.
With my conscious mind, I'm like, oh man, that thing happened to me when I was a kid. One of my parents did this, or abuser did this. Never going to let that happen again. And here I find myself in relationship with someone who does that very same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels, in a sense, it feels right. It feels familiar. Mm-hmm. There's a familiarity to it.
Stay focused just there.
Yeah.
Because it's not right.
Yeah. It's just familiar.
It's familiar.
Right.
And the brain needs pattern recognition. We normalize insanity, but it's a pattern. So in these abuse cycles, there's a pattern. You can identify it in any abusive relationship. Pattern. It's the balance between your central nervous system protecting you and triggering the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system governs fear, stress, anxiety, and depression. That's all happening in your midbrain. So we have to figure out how to interrupt that pattern to say, hey, this may feel familiar, but familiar is not good enough. I need to override the central nervous system, and I need to take some risk. I need to push through this adversity. And you have to follow your enteric brain in your gut, we call intuition. Because a lot of times we override it because the central nervous system says, no, Luke, we're going to take that path. Because I know that path. That's comfort.
Yeah.
I can kind of see how it's going to be. There might be some pain involved, and you might, not like the outcome, but we're going there.
It's the known way.
It's the known way.
Yeah. I remember early in my recovery when I first got sober, my grand sponsor, who I had recordings of, I never met him, but I used to listen to his tapes over and over again because he was the only human I think I'd heard at that point that made any sense to me about what was wrong with me. And he said, I used to have this saying, alcoholics would, let me make sure I can get it right. I used to say this all the time, but I think it's ingrained in me now, hopefully. But he said, alcoholics would rather do the wrong thing, even if they know it's the wrong thing, because they've done it before, rather than doing the right thing when they know it's the right thing. Right? So it's like, you're walking into this pattern voluntarily, a melodrama with the person, or you're dishonest, or you're being selfish, or whatever it is, you're angry again. And it's like, you're going in the wrong direction, but you can't stop it because it's just what feels right. It's like, this is the way I do it. It's the way I've always done it.
Right.
Even if you've had some spiritual growth and you've matured and you quote unquote know better, you still find yourself compelled to repeat that same thing again. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Is this, are these neural pathways that you're describing?
Yep.
So it's like
so when you do mindfulness, you do meditation, your practice of meditation, what you're doing is you're opening up oxygen-rich red blood cell flow to the frontal cortex and prefrontal cortex. You're creating new neuronal coherence. You're creating new opportunities to take those challenges that don't seem like the comfortable road of pattern recognition, but you can reflect, be observant, be patient, and be present in the moment. And you can listen to your intuition. You already know what the answer is. Now you get to take actions that override the central nervous system and that need for pattern.
And when we do that and we do override it and say, I'm thinking about, let's say you've always been in romantic relationships that are dysfunctional. You swing the spectrum between being the unavailable, heart-protecting, closed heart person that doesn't let anyone in, can't trust anyone, or you're the needy, codependent, like love addict that just needs validation and attention all the time. I guess those are two contrasted ends of that spectrum, right? Let's say through painful experience, one starts to find that pattern. I did it again. Someone wanted to get close to me and I wouldn't let them in, and they're a great person, and I just stonewalled them, and then they got so bored or frustrated they left, and here I am alone again. And so you start to see these patterns and work on yourself and break through that, and then meet someone where you have that fork in the road and you see that opportunity to listen to your gut or to follow that pattern. You listen to your gut, you wholeheartedly go in and allow yourself to be vulnerable, and you allow for true intimacy, or at least, up to your capacity at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you then build a new pathway where that becomes normal?
Yes.
Where that intimacy, closeness, that love, everything you've always wanted is now the new normal. And to go back into that old pattern of pain for both parties is like not even an option. I mean, I guess it's always an option, but it becomes much more clear and much easy to resist. That becomes now foreign.
Correct.
Is that the way it works?
Yes.
Seems to be my experience.
So you can pattern interrupt.
Right.
And that's what you have to do. That's growth.
Yeah. Because when I look at my relationship now, it's just so fulfilling. It's so peaceful. It's so comfortable. It's so safe. It's so fun. I mean, it really is all the time. It's just fun all the time. I keep waiting for when everyone says in a relationship, you're always going to fight and this and that, like you go through these things. I'm like, I'm not. No, we're not.
Right.
It's a completely new world.
Trust, respect, listening.
Yeah. But I think back now on, my behavior and the behavior that I put up with from other people in relationships, and I go, what? Who was that guy that would ever been so shitty or would ever have put up with such shittiness? It's like another lifetime. It's
I can't imagine. Who that guy was?
Who?
A scared boy. That's all it is. Getting into dysfunctional relationships is just your inability to manage your fear, and that pattern keep finding those triggers. You keep being attracted to people that are gonna give you that comfort.
Yeah,
but it's just fear. And then when you protect your heart from all the scar tissue, that's just fear. Fear of being vulnerable again. Fear of what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to feel hurt. You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel loss. Is that really that bad? It's part of being a human.
Yeah.
We're going to feel loss our entire life. We're going to lose people our entire life. And we are going to impose loss on people. It's part of being human. So what's so fearful about that? And if you don't give, why are you doing it? If you don't relent and take that scar tissue and say, hey, let me show you what's in here, and I hope you like it. I hope you like this person. Because when you live a lie or you're in this matrix of dysfunctional relationships, you're not even yourself. You're compartmentalized. Mm-hmm. You're only by yourself when you're in the shower or on the toilet. Even when you're lying next to the person, you're not connected to them. You're in your head.
Right, because there's still parts of yourself that you're withholding.
Absolutely.
Out of self-protection to avoid the vulnerability.
Correct.
Because of all the patterns before that you've built from doing that and having it, not
it's very complex.
Not go well.
Being a human is really complex. Yeah. But the reality is trust and love. Take that to the forefront. Mm-hmm. Challenge your fear. Challenge your historical, patterns of dysfunction that didn't serve you well. The whole mindful path. There's a physiological response to mindfulness. people don't understand that either. People think, okay, yoga, Tai Chi, and meditation and deep breathing or whatever. They just see it as someone, I don't know. I don't know what they see it as. People perceive mindfulness in many different manners, and it's not pervasive to the world yet. But the whole benefit of mindfulness is to oxygenate red blood cells to the entire organism, from your toes to your frontal cortex. That's all you're doing. When you sleep on something, you're getting restorative nature of theta brainwave function. So when you wake up the next day, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. That text or that Twitter wasn't so bad. I don't know why I was so triggered. I don't know why I was so triggered. Seriously. Could have been cortisol, could have been my bulletproof coffee. I don't know what it was, but something just caught me. But the next day you wake up, all that is you've had the practice of theta brainwave function and oxygen. Oxygen-rich red blood feeds your body and your brain. So you can create new cognition. You can create new pathways and new ways of thinking. So say you're in a dysfunctional relationship 11 in a row. Your central nervous system is laughing at you. Number one, it's like, hey, you fall for this every time, right? And your gut's like, would you please listen to me just once? So the 12th relationship, you finally interrupt that pattern. Now you're on that path. You've taken the lead away from this, and you are creating new cognition, building a new network and a schema so that in your head of your relationships, historical, present, future, right? There's a pattern now developing. That's how you move away from dysfunction.
So the good news is you can change.
Always.
No matter how stuck one
Always.
feels they are in these patterns.
But the only way you change is through enlightenment through oxygen-rich red blood cells to the key areas of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
This is anatomy of physiology 101. You need to have blood flow to the areas of the brain. If you're stuck in the amygdala and the reptilian midbrain, you will always be consumed by fear, stress, anxiety, and depression. You will always play that whole course of treatment. For what? You can easily be liberated from it.
One thing I've noticed over the years of doing different types of meditation and whatnot, and now using NuCalm is, and this was especially true when I really committed to my practice of Vedic meditation, where I do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. I went through this phase where rather than becoming this peaceful monk, I became really irritable. I was just super pissed off, maybe the first few months. And then I asked my teacher, Jeff Kober, about it. I said, dude, I thought meditating is supposed to make you more chill. I'm becoming more of an asshole. He said, perfect. That means you're doing it right. And the way he described it from that lineage of teaching was that you have all of these repressed and suppressed scars, emotions, triggers, etc. And when you're dipping into that, what I guess you would refer to as that theta brainwave state, in your neuroscience vernacular, I guess they would just call it the field, right? When you're dipping into that, you're releasing this pressure valve that all of those old things are coming up. And so there's going to be a period of a little bit of a shit show on your way to building a new way of reacting, responding to your experience, wherein you become less fuckwithable, less triggerable. And I have noticed over the years, through all of the different practices that I've done, that it's much harder to trigger me. And even if I do have a moment where I get sideways, I have a much easier time coming back to center. And I've noticed this with Allison too. I observe her sometime, and she's been on her own shamanic path and doing her thing. But, she'll get annoyed with me, like get pissed off for a second. My old pattern is to like hold my breath, freak out, because I had people early in my life that were really mean and abusive and explosive and violent, right? So when someone that I care about and I trust acts like that, I think that I'm about to get really hurt. So I'll see that in myself, calm myself down, and then I'll watch her. And it's like 5 minutes later, she goes in and does whatever she does in her way, and she's over it. So it's like,
it's amazing.
And then it's just like nothing ever happened. Maybe, we need to communicate for a minute, and it's just go, you did this or that. And go, okay, sorry, I'll change. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. But it's not only in relationship with people that are close, it's all through the world, even in the COVID drama, and there's rioting and all the crazy shit going on in the world. I have noticed that it's rare that I get taken for a ride. Like I was calling you for some advice a couple of weeks ago, And I was in it. And you told me, you're like, oh, you're locked in it. However you phrased it. And I was like, I know, I'm stuck in this thing. I'm in my limbic system. I can't get out. And I was doing all the things. But that hasn't happened for a long, long time.
It was a big deal.
So, it was like a year or something where
Right.
I spent days with bad digestion and couldn't sleep and just couldn't get myself out of that fight or flight thing. So the good news is that no matter how much shit we've been through and how, locked in that lane we seem to be, when we are willing to practice mindfulness in whatever way we choose to be most effective, we can actually build resilience where even if you get jarred loose for a minute, you get out faster and it happens less frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of every couple days you're in this fight or flight, it's every few months you have a bout for a couple of days where you're going through something, and it's usually warranted because it's something substantial and meaningful. It's not something totally imagined.
Right.
That's what used to happen to me. It's like I would, I don't know, maybe you get a parking ticket, and it's like my mind would build this whole story, and my whole day, if not week, would be ruined by that $80 loss. And how dare they? And why am I such an idiot for doing that? And all these stories that I start to build around something that was completely insignificant in the large scope of
Do you
things.
think a reptilian brain would perseverate over a parking ticket? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think your higher conscious brain would? No.
Right.
Because it's so inconsequential.
Right.
So the challenge of going into meditation the first 6 months being impatient and kind of being a dick, yeah, guess what? You got work to do. If you can't just go like this, say, okay, I'm going to be, more present. I'm going to have better energy. I'm going to be able to respond instead of react. So you're doing the hard work. Did it kill you? No. Was it that difficult? No. Did you enjoy it? No. Did you get through it? Yes.
When people start doing NuCalm, and then it looks for those that are like, what are you guys talking about? I'm sure at this point I've said the word so many times, someone's going, what? but when someone starts doing NuCalm that's never really meditated and just really sat with themselves, is it common that they go through a little period of off-gassing old stresses?
NuCalm is amazing because humans are amazing. NuCalm is the same tool for everybody. You do the same thing I do. You're different. Your subjective neurology is different. Your epigenetics are different. Your schema and your network of experiences are different. So when you put somebody in the healing zone, theta brainwave function, or the quantum field, you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. If it's trauma related, we all have a narrative. Everybody's gone through something. Okay? No one's alone. The numbers are too conservative, but 1 in 5 males are abused and 1 in 4 females. I don't believe that to be true at all. It's probably more like 1 in 3 and 1 in 2. Any continuum of the abuse cycle. And we build a narrative to protect ourselves. We all have that. I call it the itty bitty shitty committee. Mm-hmm. We've had a narrative with our inner self since you can remember. And the inner self narrative usually isn't all that positive. Yeah. It's not a cheering section. Yeah. And it's embarrassing if your spouse, your girlfriend, or your fiance wakes you up and you say, hey, I didn't sleep well last night. You don't even tell them about it because you're almost shameful of it. This little committee that keeps just racking through my brain. So this narrative is part of our ego. Okay. When you are guided into theta brainwave function with a technology like NuCalm, there's no way to caution or share with somebody what's going to happen because you don't know what's going to happen. Could it be the first time that you do NuCalm where you're liberated from your narrative and holy cow, conflict unresolved is in my face? Could it be the third time? Could it be the 5th time? But we do know this. When you're in the NuCalm experience and your brainwave function is literally oscillating at 4 hertz to 7 hertz, your mind can go through any conflict you want. Your body cannot react. It is a very safe place. So we don't know. We see NuCalm tears a lot. I personally have administered NuCalm to thousands and thousands of people across this planet. And I can't tell you who's going to have NuCalm tears and have this cathartic moment where they visited a deceased relative or they sat with Jesus. I don't know. Or they saw the purple chakra. I don't know who's going to do what. But invariably, everybody goes on a journey. That's why I always call it, welcome to your personal NuCalm journey. Because I don't know what's in store for you. But I do know this. On the other side, you are going to be a exceptionally different, better human being. You're not going to be a NASA, astronaut. You're not going to be a professional athlete. We're not giving you talent. We're making you a better you because we're allowing you to be present in the here and now, to be reflective, to be responsive, and to be patient. Patience. If we all had a little more patience, we'd have a much better existence on this planet.
Have a much better Twitter.
Have a much better Twitter.
Let's explain how NuCalm works.
Okay.
So you have this neuroacoustic software, these kind of soundscapes you listen to, and then there's a little disc you stick on a specific place on your left wrist.
Yep.
And then you essentially just lie down or sit down and listen to these sounds. And my experience of it is it's like a guaranteed deep meditation just about every time. Now, I've tested it when I'm in full fight or flight and nothing, even NuCalm, won't break me out of it. And I'm just like, well, I'm sure I'm better off after that 20 or 30 minutes than I was, but I'm still triggered. And that's like that once a year kind of meltdown, huge shit happens and, it just is what it is. But as someone who's meditated for a long time and was very committed to my Vedic practice for many years, it's kind of hit or miss. One morning I go into the zone. I'm like, I'm in here. Here I am. I'm in here. I'm in theta. I'm in the quantum. It's emptiness. I watch the thoughts go by. I don't grab them. They're like grasshoppers on a field of wheat. It's just fun. I'm just sitting there observing and I feel like Buddha. Next day, get up. I'm like, what about that letter from the IRS? Did you check your email? What if that deal doesn't go through? God, I think that guy's pissed at you. You better email, all the shit, all the chatter, the monkey mind. But it's never reliable. And I still think any meditation is a good meditation. And that's how it's taught, because sometimes the mind just does need to process. And it's not like you can, in a quantitative way, say the meditation where you felt stillness and peace was a more productive or better meditation than one in which the mind was very active. But I still prefer the one where the mind's very still.
Right.
And I'm able to just sink into that space because that's where I resolve things. And that's where I do my creative vision work, is from that space. I see the interconnectivity of the universe and I put pieces together and have great ideas and I come out of it and I have a way to implement them in my waking state. So that's my personal experience of it, is almost every single time I'm just taken into the kind of meditation that I want, whether or not I want to or not. And even if I have been somewhat already activated, like in that bad habit I described before, where I get up and I engage with the world a little bit, if I just went and tried to meditate just on the natch after that, there's no way I would be able to drop in.
Right.
But I can get up, get a little cortisol, do some shit. Oh, I have to send a package, do this and that. Then I do NuCalm. This is what happened this morning. I did it in the hyperbaric chamber. And I went into the deepest meditation for 40 minutes and it was beautiful. That wouldn't happen. It'd be very rare and very difficult to do that on my own.
Correct.
So I can imagine for someone who's not meditated for a really long time, and they're just like, oh, I'm going to start meditating today. But first, I'm going to pay some bills. I'm going to respond to this pissed off email, and I'm going to look at my tax bill, and et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm going to go meditate. Like, good luck. It's very difficult. So that's kind of my experience of it. And that's how the thing works for those listening. But break down for us some of the science. What are you listening to? What are those sounds? Why are they so odd? And not, it's a song, but it's not a song because it's totally unpredictable and you can never memorize it, even after 500 freaking times. Who makes the music? How many different, tracks are there within one song? And what does the disc do? Kind of break down the whole thing.
Awesome.
Because it's freaking fascinating.
It is fascinating. So we're taking a neuroscience approach to mindfulness, and we are taking an approach to create balance of the autonomic nervous system. Most humans run with their foot on the accelerator way too much and don't have enough rest and digest. You could look at mindfulness practice as being the autonomic nervous system of the parasympathetic nervous system. So our goal with NuCalm is to manage your brain. That's a big task. It took a very, very bright quantum physicist, neuroscientist, clinician over 20 years of exploration, research, and development to figure this out. The brain is a compensatory ecosystem. So if you play with it here, there's going to be something here, okay? So this is a 3-step process because nothing is that easy. we can't just use auditory entrainment. We can't just use, biochemistry, et cetera. So first things first, the disc on the left wrist. So the disc, it looks like a sticker, looks like Sesame Street. It is so complex. There is a signature or recipe of frequencies that sit on top of a Lakhovsky multi-wave oscillator that's 6 levels deep. Okay? That's holding a biostatic charge. There's a software that's imprinted using a Tesla coil on top of that disc 8 times.
Really?
So on that disc, when it's in the Faraday bag, I have one right here.
Oh, yeah, let's show it on the camera.
So,
for those of you listening, sorry, we'll have to explain it, but you can watch this on YouTube.
In this bag, this is a Faraday bag. It's an anti-static bag. It's keeping the frequencies inert and safe from EMFs. On top of that disc, this Lakhovsky electromedicine designed element, all right, a multi-wave oscillator in and of itself, is holding a recipe. That recipe is the ingredients that used to be in what was called the NuCalm cream, mostly inhibitory neurotransmitters focused on GABA A and GABA B. What we are trying to accomplish is to slow down the body's natural resistance, which is adrenaline. So anything that you do, your central nervous system governs you for safety and security. Anything that comes near you, surgical procedure, medicament, has to get past Kaiser Sosa there, your central nervous system. Okay? So we are going to negate this, and we're going to put you in a level playing field so that we can manage your brain. So one of the key elements to why NuCalm is so sophisticated and has been awarded the only patent in the world is Dr. Holloway is not a focused allopathic Western medicine doc. He doesn't have an expertise specifically in cranial electrotherapy stimulation or neuroacoustic software. He's a holistic practitioner and a neuroscientist. He knows the outcome. The outcome is profound. I want to manage your autonomic nervous system. And I have to get through 40 million years of the amygdala HPA axis. And I got to go through all these complexities. So the first step in the relaxation response is to place this disc on the pericardium 6 acupressure point. This is going to present the brain with a signal. It's bioresonance. Every cell in your body has a frequency. And when it gets the oscillation of that frequency, it gets in harmony, like a tuning fork. So this little sticker looks like Sesame Street, took 4.5 years to develop, is an exceptionally powerful and efficacious tool to activate what's called your GABAergic system and inhibit the HPA axis so that adrenaline doesn't flood the body while we try to relax you.
So it's funny. I didn't even know this about the discs because I never asked you how they're made or anything like that. So out in the Zen den there, I have a biocharger, which is based on a Tesla coil, Rife frequencies, and multi-wave oscillator and noble gases.
100 years of electromedicine from Lakhovsky and Tesla.
Right.
Yeah.
So that sort of device is what makes these stickers and puts frequencies like that in these metallic stickers. For those listening, they're a little disc and they're shiny and metallic.
Yes.
So these emit a frequency, which is why you told me don't put it next to your cell phone.
Correct.
Don't wear it on the biocharger, which of course I've forgotten. I've ruined 100 of these goddamn things. Sitting on the amp coil or the I have a bunch of PMF devices around. And then I've made them inert basically if they're exposed to that, right?
Correct.
So the frequencies from those technologies are imprinting on these stickers. And then because your skin is conductive and you're putting it right at that certain
You have
spot,
electromagnetism.
Right.
Within about, 1/2 inch to 2 inch of your body is your chi.
So there's
your Gauss field.
So there's bioresonance between the frequencies in the sticker and your body goes ding, ding, ding. We know what that is.
The body activates and turns on the frequency. The frequency reaches the brain, and a tuning fork happens where it starts resonating with the frequency of GABA.
Okay.
Absolutely fascinating.
It's like,
how did we do this?
So if the sticker's just sitting there on the shelf, it's not actively
in this bag,
anything.
It's completely inert. Nothing is happening. Out of the bag and attached to your electromagnetism, it is turned on. And it is emitting that signal to the brain.
And how long do the stickers last?
These last 2 to 4 hours. There is no specific time because you were different today than you were yesterday. Your inability to self-regulate, your deficiency in GABA is different every day. So the body is so fantastic, compensatory ecosystem, right? It's going to take exactly what it needs from this disc at that time. So we can't tell you. We just built it so that, hey, the longest NuCalm is about 4 hours, so it's 2 to 4 hours per use.
So essentially, every 1 or 2 times you sit down for a session, depending on how long of a session you do,
Yes.
you're going through a sticker.
Yes. And as long as you take this off, put it back in the Faraday bag and seal it up and keep it in a dry place, that's it. You're good to go. You can shower with these on too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, the disc technology is incredible. That's
crazy.
Begins the relaxation response and levels the playing field of the 40 million year reptilian brain and the 36 million head start. Okay. I liken this to having a glass of wine or two without any cognitive impairment. So say you had a tough day and you drink a glass of wine and immediately you feel the weight of the world roll off your shoulders. Like, hey, life isn't so bad. That's the GABAergic system. Everything related to your biochemistry, that is anti-anxiety, anxiolytic, relaxation, is GABA-A derived. Every alcohol sip you ever had bound to the GABA-A receptor site. Any benzodiazepine binds to the GABA-A receptor site. Any barbiturate binds to the GABA-A receptor site. That's the sense of relaxation. So we're basically addressing the GABA-A receptor site.
I remember we talked the other day and you were coaching me on some stuff. As I said, I was really stressed out. And you, if I'm not mistaken, I think you said before you do the thing, I had a meeting and it was potentially stressful. And you said, go put one of those stickers on your wrist.
Yeah.
But I wasn't even listening to the NuCalm tracks.
No.
And you're like, no, just put it on.
Yep. And it just takes the edge off.
Yeah.
The other day I wore it for 24 hours and I was had the edge off all day, which I don't like. I like to have the edge on. But I was like, wow, this I feel
you're a CEO, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got to have edge if you're a CEO.
Yeah.
I've tried that role. It wasn't, I'm too mellow.
So that is the first step of the equation.
Okay.
And think about this as a great equalizer. With the disc, you create every time a predictable, deep, efficacious, and fast-acting experience. Okay. So you've NuCalmed for over a year. And you've NuCalmed a lot. I've NuCalmed for 11 years, and I've NuCalmed a lot. And you're right. Sometimes I don't go as deep, but I always go. I always go somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that has to do with your sleep, your stress, your nutrition, and your cortisol levels at that time. Okay.
You want to know something? My favorite time to NuCalm actually is if I got a really shitty night's sleep or I've been traveling and I'm just torqued, and around 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's the best NuCalm. Like when you
Always.
really need it, it's actually
Yes.
the juiciest. If I feel super energized and refreshed, I'm like, man, I don't feel like doing a NuCalm because I don't feel tired. And then I'll do it and it's nice. But if I really need to be restored, it's just like, oh man, that's the best.
That's the sweet spot.
And
2
it
to
feels
4.
like you slept like 2 hours. I'll do 20 minutes and I get up and I'm just like, oh, wow, okay, I'm fine. It's a complete reset. It's insane.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Between 2 and 4 in the afternoon, the body's natural biorhythm wants to take a nap. Americans have a culture and a drive to do their to-do list that they reach for espresso. Wrong answer. Pay attention to your body. Listen to your body. It needs a power nap. It needs a 20, 30, 40-minute NuCalm experience. According to our research, 20 minutes of NuCalm is equivalent to 2 hours of restorative sleep. So if you don't sleep well, you can never make up sleep debt. The body is incapable of doing that. But biochemistry and physics isn't. So you can augment that sleep debt. That's why you feel really good the next day because you got an additional. I would never tell anybody to use this to supplant sleep. No. Sleep is really, really important. You need sleep. But in the event that you're sleep compromised, jet lagged, whatever it is, use NuCalm to augment that sleep debt.
Another thing that I've noticed is that if I push off my afternoon session too late and I do it like at 5 or 6, then it hurts my sleep.
Yes, it does.
Because I'm super hyper.
Yes.
I try to go to bed at 10 or 11 and I just lay there and have to listen to 4 podcasts.
Yes.
Not my own, by the way.
Well,
I don't listen to my own podcast.
You would never.
I'll never know if it's edited right. That's the funny thing. I was thinking the other day, I said, shit, I don't even know if they're doing it right, but I just can't bring myself to listen to them anymore because I did for the first year.
I don't either. I listen to nothing I do.
Yeah.
I just moved to the next thing.
I don't know. It's just, I'm not that excited with myself, I guess. But anyway, back to what I was saying. And so now it's kind of like sometimes I skip the afternoon one if I haven't done it early enough because I know I'm going to tank my sleep. I'm going to get a huge rush of energy at like 9 or 10 at night.
Yes. So say if I have to work late and I know, okay, between 11 and 1, it's quiet in the house. I can get best work done. I'll NuCalm at like 7 or 8 in preparation for that. What's up with that is simple. 20 minutes of NuCalm is equivalent to 2 hours of restorative sleep. So if I NuCalm for 40 minutes, I'm getting 4 hours of restorative sleep. If I do that at 6 o'clock at night, you'd never take a 4-hour power nap before bed. It absolutely will interrupt your sleep.
Got it.
And so you're very lucid. You're very clear-headed. You've got great positive energy, but you really want to sleep.
Yeah.
So we tell people after 7 o'clock at night, don't do NuCalm unless you want to have an incredibly productive, lonely evening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm learning. Okay. So that's
that's the disc. Okay.
And
second
now tell
piece,
me about the tracks.
Okay.
And then also there's new tracks, which I'm grateful for because I guess you said it's been about a year since I first met you and got this thing. The other ones I listened to so much.
Yeah.
That it's not like they bother me because I just lose it anyway and you go into that deep state. But I was really refreshed to hear some new ones. So thank you.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah. So thank you for doing that.
So there's also an eye mask. Eye mask is simple. Disc and eye mask help with the relaxation response. Most of the method of action of NuCalm lies within $5 million of patented physics, mathematics, and algorithms as we are pacing and slowing down your brainwave function. So today, you wake up and you're a little slow in your brain and you have a cup of coffee. What does that cup of coffee do? It increases the oscillations of your brainwave. So maybe from 14 hertz to 17 hertz. Focus is 15 hertz. All right, so my brainwave is going faster. What we're doing in NuCalm is a Herculean challenge because in the daytime, we're taking your brain down into alpha and theta. So we are using very, very advanced patented physics to present the brain with a pattern like a NASCAR pace car. Okay? So in this amalgamation of amazing mathematics, there's several elements because the brain is so sophisticated. And we're going to trick your brain, not just once, but for the rest of your life. You're going to do NuCalm every day and you're never going to build resistance to it. So in here, we're using binaural signal processing, a little bit more sophisticated than a binaural beat, but we're using the physics associated with how do we present the brain with a beat that your ears can't hear.
So is that because of the left and right hemisphere? Because you're listening to it in stereo and that
how it works,
creates a coherence between the left and right.
It's a lack of coherence. Yep.
Oh,
so the caudate nucleus in the midbrain is processing information from the auditory motor cortex. So your ears don't hear. They bring the signal to your brain. Your eyes don't see. They bring the signal to your brain. The visual cortex is interpreting the information. Okay. So for the brain, the caudate nucleus is the center point there. If I present, for the sake of simplicity, if alpha brainwave function is 12 hertz to 8 hertz, and I want to present your brain with 12 hertz, I will put 512 hertz in your left ear, 500 hertz in the right ear. So when it reaches its target, the caudate nucleus, that dissonance, the brain won't accept. So this was discovered by a German scientist in 1839. The brain naturally subtracts the difference and you're left with the difference, which is 12 hertz.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's binaural beat and binaural signal processing. Absolutely fascinating. Again, the body's a compensatory ecosystem. It's amazing what the brain will do. So we use binaural signal processing to get a certain beat to your brain that your ears can't hear. We also have a pitch and frequency mathematical matrix. So say at minute 1, it might be 12.5 hertz frequency and the pitch might be 161. That whole mathematics is throughout the entire track. Now, the complexity and why NuCalm is so powerful and patented and unique and valid, and we've served, millions of people in the last 11 years, is that the brain, central nervous system, has a little tool called the reticular activating system. That governs all stimulation to your brain. And the reticular activating system has 2 primary functions: pattern recognition and shortcuts. So when you listen to a 99-cent binaural beat track, or you go to the HoloSync or Monroe Institute and you pick a focus track, the first time you listen to it, it's amazing. The second time you listen to it, it's good. The third time you listen to it, it's fair. The fourth time you listen to it, it has no impact because the reticular activating system has figured out the pattern. So what we've done, and why this is so complicated, is there is a nonlinear, constant oscillating algorithm perpetually moving your brainwave and perpetually moving your reticular activating system to figure out the pattern, but it's always moving. So people say, well, my mind wanders in NuCalm. We say that's a manifestation of the mathematics. We can't, We can do a lot with NuCalm. I'm very proud of what we can do. Managing the human brain is a really big task, but we can't clear your brain of thoughts. We're not that powerful. So what we do is say, hey, let's liberate monkey mind to go on a nonlinear journey while it tries to figure out this pattern and plays in the kids' table while the adult body gets to restore.
That's great.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Monkey mind, go on that journey. I don't know what the journey holds. It could be linear stuff for a minute. It could be to-do list, could be love, could be whatever. But over here, we want to suspend the body in a place of homeostasis and balance and being in the quantum field of theta brainwave function. So the complexity of what we've created cannot be overstated. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And if you look at one single track, one track of NuCalm is almost 1 gigabyte of information. We're forcing your brain to process.
I remember that with the old version. I'd have to download it.
789 megabytes.
I'd click download and be like, it's ready in an hour and a half or something. That's download take forever.
It's not music.
Yeah.
It's neuroacoustic software underneath a beautiful soundscape. So 5.5 years ago, we started working with Dan Celine, who's an exceptionally gifted genius in music production. He also has a medical hypnosis background, neuroglyphic programming. He understands a lot about the brain. Great partner for us. So we have a quantum physicist building physics, and now we have a brilliant person in the same kind of mind frame doing the music on top of our physics. Now, if you listen just to the physics, you would have a highly agitated NuCalm experience because it would sound like this. That's not fun.
Yeah.
So we lower the decibels of the physics, and then Dan, using the mathematical matrix, at minute 1, Dan, it's 13.5 hertz and 161. At minute 3, it's 8.5 hertz. That whole matrix is built to where we compose the music. Then if that wasn't enough, because that's already like neurosurgery, that's why it takes us so long to build the tracks, we also use the ancient solfeggio music scale, which is synonymous with the golden mean and the mathematics of the universe. Pretty cool. So you're right. You haven't heard a lot of what we do because we're playing in the 528 hertz miracle tone. We're playing in the 432 hertz healing tone. We're away from conventional frequencies that the human ear has grown accustomed to. So we're using all these different mechanisms to trick and create a resonance and a vibrational pattern for the brain to follow. And one of the cool ancillary benefits of the nonlinear oscillating algorithm that's constantly tricking your brain is because your brain and your central nervous system, I wouldn't say is ego-driven, but it's very powerful. You've seen it through pattern recognition in your life and your behavioral pattern. Well, we commandeer all of its resources because it really wants to figure out that pattern. So the reason you slip in so strong into NuCalm, and you notice this, between Power Nap and Power Nap 2 and then Deep Recovery, we were furthering our strength. We were literally coming up to you and grabbing you like the creature from the Black Lagoon and taking you deep. And you're like, wow, this is noticeably more powerful.
Yeah.
Because we were going reverse. Let's go back in time. Let's study the neuroscience of the vibrational patterns of ancient instrumentation. And what do we learn? These folks were onto something.
Yeah.
They were doing harmonic oscillation, tuning fork resonance, and vibrational patterns for healing. So if we can tune them to 528 hertz, put them in the mathematical scale, subliminally add a singing bowl, a tuning fork, the tambura instrumentation out of India, that's what we've done. So we already have the most sophisticated patented physics underlying this. And we've had that physics for years. And it's worked like a charm, but we're not satisfied. So we're building and building and building to the recipe. So 1,675 days ago, we began the quest to get away from a class 3 medical device that costs $4,695 and truly achieve our vision of liberating people from stress and poor sleep without drugs. That quest led us down 2 paths. The invention of the biosignal processing disc that allowed the frequency and the harmonics to the brain, and further building out this catalog. So when we launched the new app on September 15th of this year, we doubled the amount of neuroacoustic software we previously delivered to the world. Doubled. So Dan and his Oompa Loompas back in the factory were working very, very hard. It's incredible what we've pulled off.
So how many tracks are there in the new software?
There's over 12 hours of unique tracks back there. There used to be only 5.67.
You know what's weird about it too, and I guess it's like you just explained that it's built that way, but even if in one of the tracks there's a signature piece of music, there's one little hook,
Yep.
it's on a sitar, guitar, whatever it is, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember this part. I can never, and I'm a musician too. I mean, you can show me a song, I can learn the song and remember the song, play it over and over again. Did it for 15 years. Maybe not that well, but I did it. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here if I did it great, right? I'd be off on stage playing a song somewhere. But seriously, I'm pretty good at memorizing music. And I'll try to kind of, I don't count bars, but I'm like, oh, right about now, that thing is going to come in. And I'm always wrong. I can never memorize the NuCalm tracks.
You're in the quantum field. There's
It's
no
so
way.
weird.
Yeah,
like you couldn't learn one of those songs.
No.
It's impossible to learn.
It's impossible.
It's so weird. There's no music that's like that. Every music can be learned, it seems to me.
Well, what's interesting is, and you've mentioned this, if we were to create melodies that your brain connects to, we keep your monkey mind engaged. We cannot engage monkey mind. Monkey mind is at the kids' table. Going, go work with crayons, monkey mind.
Right.
We're going to heal the body.
Right.
So that element is exceptionally powerful. So we do small hooks, and then we think, hey, your brain kind of deductively reasons we're going to go there. No, we don't. We switch. Or we bring in environmental sounds. Every piece is meticulously designed for that purpose at that time. If we want you in 5.5 deep theta, we're going to keep making it, the recipe work to keep you in that space.
And is it just me, or at the end of a track, is there a bed of frequencies that brings you out of it and wakes you up? Because I feel like
it's not just you. It's absolutely always the
okay. Because
case.
I start sensing when it's over, even though I'm completely out of time space.
Yes.
I'm not checking my watch or looking at my phone to see how far I am in the track. My brain starts to go ding, ding, ding. It hears certain tones and it just kind of knows like, oh, we're coming to the end. And then sure enough, the track ends. It's really weird.
Become more self-aware of your environment. I wouldn't say you're waking up because you weren't sleeping, but you were hovering in that quantum field of theta brainwave function, dissociated. So in the 50-minute master track, say rescue, 50 minutes, we can't just take you into theta. Your central nervous system would not appreciate that whatsoever. So there's what we call the departure lounge. We're tricking your brain for the first several minutes, and you're not really going anywhere. And you feel this all the time.
Yeah.
And then when we say, okay, we think you're ready, and we've relinquished that locus of control, we think we're ready to take you into the healing zone. You feel your body like you're going down in an elevator or okay. So it takes us a while to get you down there. Then you're down there in theta for about 30 to 35 minutes. And then the last 4 minutes of every track we've ever created, we're bringing the frequency back up to 13 hertz.
Oh, okay.
Because we don't want you, first of all, not to reach a natural endpoint, but if you don't and you're still going, we don't want you to fall asleep. NuCalm isn't about sleep. NuCalm is about being in the healing zone just above deep sleep. But we don't want you coming out groggy. We want you coming out focused, refreshed, and feeling like you had the best night's sleep of your life, even if you just did NuCalm for 25 minutes. So everything, we could talk for hours about the meticulous design of what we've created because we've had to reverse engineer everything and do all the patents and all the regulatory. It's absolutely mind-boggling what's been accomplished, which makes me think this isn't really man-made.
Right,
Blake may not be human. It's just there's a divine intervention to everything that's worked. But the big picture here on the science side is this is proven, patented, clinical neuroscience. And the reason it's predictable every time is that it's not up to you. We're simply using biochemistry and physics to manage your brain. And the beauty of it is, Luke, is we can go from stage 4 cancer, some of the most fear, high cortisol profile on the planet. We can go to a theater of war veteran who saw trauma he can't reconcile and it's just out of their mind. And it doesn't matter who you are. From a monk to someone egregiously ill, you go to the same place. And we could look at a QEG, we can look at an EEG, we can look at heart rate variability. It doesn't matter what we look at. You're all going to the same place. Because if the brain and body only communicate 2 pathways, chemical messaging and electrical messaging, and NuCalm commandeers both pathways, there's no escape route. We know exactly what's happening to you when it's happening. The only difference is what your mental journey is. That's it. The
Right.
body's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's hovering in parasympathetic dominance, and it is healing by synchronizing your heart with your lungs, slowing down your respiration to one breath every 10 seconds, which is also synonymous with the golden mean in the mathematics of the universe. And you're breathing 6 breaths a minute while we fully oxygenate your entire body and mind. And that's the healing property.
So this is creating a heart-mind coherence.
Absolutely.
Which brings me to my next question, and that is, I forget if I told you this or not, but Tony Robbins is a big proponent of NuCalm. Roger Waters of Pink Floyd fame. You've got high-level special ops military people, professional athletes, really high-performing people, and many well-known people, right?
Yes.
There has to be some connection here with Joe Dispenza, because I love Joe Dispenza's meditations and his events. I went to his event a few months ago. Phenomenal. And when I interviewed him, I said, hey, Joe, I'm doing this thing with your meditations, which are really cool. And the music's beautiful, great soundscapes.
Right.
I don't know if you ever heard them, but I said, and I just got lazy and I stopped doing this, but I said, I have this thing, NuCalm, Joe. And I said, what I'll do is I'll put the NuCalm in some earbuds, and then I put your meditations on over it in my earphones, because the guiding that he does is fantastic, and it really takes you into that quantum space, and it's amazing. And I said, I just double them up, and I'm pretty lucky most of the time they'll be kind of in tune. There's not like, it's not a half step off of key. It's like it's a harmonic or in unison. Even sometimes I'll hit it and it's kind of the same key. It's all in there. And I told him that, and it was just a brief interview, so I didn't have time to really dive deep. But he was like, that's really fascinating. Wow. And I said, yeah, I'm not doing it justice to explain it. But I said, man, if you could hook up with the NuCalm guys and somehow partner and infuse your meditations with that, you're on another level. Because already his teachings are going there. Have you guys ever talked to him?
Make the connection, because we have a long-standing relationship with Brother Craig Marshall, the Yogananda monk who was a monk for 35 years and was both George Harrison and Steve Jobs' personal confidant. Taught the Beatles how to meditate.
Got it.
He's doing voiceovers for us in meditation now.
Oh, cool.
You've heard it in the Ignite with Tony.
Yeah.
Taking a voiceover and going down a meditative path while using physics and mathematics that create a permeable brain.
Yes.
We are going to imprint the meditation to your soul. I mean, it's very, very powerful.
Yeah.
The word choices are really important. The inflection's important. That's what we're doing now.
Cool.
We're in collaboration now with Brother Craig Marshall to do that.
There you go.
But we'd love, more voices and more ideas. And yeah. So if introduce me to Joe, let's do it.
Okay, noted. Yeah, because his curiosity was piqued. I think he was like, well, my music's great already. I'm like, it is, but this isn't music. I was trying to explain.
This isn't music. So if one thing your audience takes away from this is not music. Music is a carrier, because we want the experience to be nice.
So that it's not just blah, 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 blah,
exactly.
blah, blah. Yeah.
This is algorithms, physics, mathematics designed to trick the most sophisticated organ in the history of the planet, your brain. This is not music. Now, the music we're doing and the vibrational stuff we're adding strength to the physics, because it's all about vibration and resonance.
Right.
But we are so far beyond anything that's out there in the market. And this first mover advantage, because we're not inherently lazy, we're not ego driven, and we're never satisfied, we're constantly building. You see every track we come out with, it's like, whoa, okay, this is better. This is better. And it's just perpetual, continuous improvement. That's where we're headed.
Yeah.
So get on the train now, because we're growing and growing and growing.
So speaking of growing, as I said, when we did the interview before,
yes,
I think we maybe mentioned the price of NuCalm at the end. I don't even know we did, but if we did, I wasn't like, hey, welcome to the show. So this thing's $5,000. We didn't lead with that. I want to educate people about all things neuroscience and mindfulness and restorative rest and all this stuff. And then at the end, I think we mentioned it, or it was in the show notes or something. And I got messages from a lot of people, and it was right as COVID hit. People are getting laid off. And quite a few people are like, this is awesome, but dude, seriously, like, who can afford this? And so I thought, yeah, that's true. It kind of sucks if you don't have a lot of cash. Like, you can't do this, and you're not Special Ops or Tony Robbins or whomever. So break down, even for me, I'm not even totally clear on it, the new subscription model, which is exponentially more affordable. Because after this conversation, a lot of people are going to be like, dude, it's such a no-brainer. whether you're a long-time meditator or not. And as I said, it's added so much to my life. I'm super excited that now I have something I can like promote and recommend to people that isn't impossible for the vast majority of people.
NuCalm is a no-brainer. Let me just reinforce that. Nutrition is a no-brainer. Exercise is a no-brainer. Sense of community and love is a no-brainer. Stress management in your life is a no-brainer. Whether you choose meditation, mindfulness practices, or a technology like NuCalm, it's a no-brainer. At $4,695, there's a lot of brain power involved in that buying decision. And it took us 1,675 days. Very methodical. I know this because I love data. And I'm like, wow, this has been a long journey for us. When this comes to market, this subscription model is very, very simple to understand. $39.99 gets you 1 month access to full access to the app, every part of the app, all the tracks. It gets you 10 NuCalm Pro discs. The NuCalm Pro discs retail for $4 a piece. So for $40, you get $40 in tangible goods. You get this starter package that comes in this neoprene bag, and then there's a premium eye mask and the 10 discs.
The eye mask is badass, by the way.
It's badass.
I've tried a lot of eye masks. And
It
even
really
even
is.
the Mindfold, when I found the Mindfold, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But it scratches your face. It
Yes.
actually is annoying. I don't like, sorry, Mindfold. You had me there for a minute, but it wasn't soft enough.
Yeah.
I'm a big baby.
This
anyway,
is a really good.
I just want a bunch of those masks
Yeah.
too.
Well, they're
badass.
for 11 years, we've traveled the earth taking care of people. We've heard a lot of commentary. So
Yeah.
we've become experts in headphones. We've become experts in eye masks. So you get the eye mask, you get the 10 NuCalm Pro discs, and you get access to the NuCalm app for $39.99. It brings you into the NuCalm family. There's no contract. There's no obligation. You do it, you like it, great. If you want to do more than 10 NuCalm sessions in a month, you can buy discs a la carte, okay? Or you can do $59.99 a month. Voila! 20 NuCalm Pro discs. Or you can go to the higher level and do $69.99 a month. That gets you 30 NuCalm Pro discs. So for $69.99 a month, you get full access to the app, all the neuroacoustic software, okay? You get the eye mask, the starter kit, and you get $120 in tangible product of the discs. So we've made this very easy. You got the 10, the 20, the 30, $39.99, $59.99, $69.99. No obligation. You're in, you try NuCalm, you like it, you adopt it. You're in, you try NuCalm, you don't like it, maybe you hand it off to your spouse or your children, right? Everybody could benefit
you're married
from
to a jerk.
Yeah, everybody could benefit from some mindfulness. So we've made this exceptional easy. I have a tremendous amount of enthusiasm, excitement, and pride in having done this because it is not easy to take a complicated neuroscience platform and make it brutally easy for the consumer to use. The app, as you've seen, we've restructured. There's no choice anymore. You simply pick whatever journey you want. There's reboot, recharge, and rescue. It has the icons in there, what they're for, energy, focus, stress management, sleep. And then you pick the time. Hey, I got 30 minutes. Okay, we'll take care of you.
Yeah, I'm stoked, dude, because it's just, like I said, it's much more accessible for people, even if they do the $39.99. It's like, I'm thinking, cancel Netflix. It's like
I drink coffee, you drink coffee, right?
I would be embarrassed to tell you the shit that I spend $40 a month on. Like it's, sometimes it's a steak. And I understand a lot of people just lost their jobs, and I'm not trying to make light of the fact that some people can't eat a $40 steak, but I don't even watch my money that well as I'd like to. And I'm like, if I was making way less money, I would easily sacrifice a couple of those things. But
$40 a month is going to change your life.
The thing is, you got to try it. That's the thing.
You got to try it.
And so I'm glad there's not like, your card gets recharged and you can't get out of it or some weird shit like that. It sounds very ethical.
We are here to take care of people. We are here to manage your stress without drugs, not give you stress as business development for our product.
Right.
We've always been transparent. We've always been very methodical. It's taken us 19 years and $24 million to get to this point. That's a lot of patience. That's a lot of use of NuCalm. We've never cut corners. And when we do something, we do it right. Because that's, if you tell the truth, you never have to remember anything. It's a great Mark Twain quote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Let's just do it right. So then I don't wake up at 3 a.m. when I go pee and perseverate over things or people that are upset with me. Because what are you going to be upset about? We're doing our best. We're working really hard to take care of people. And we drove the price down to $480 a year from $4,695.
Right.
And we're very, very excited to bring this to the market.
Well, I'm happy for you as well as the customer, because I can imagine, as someone who's marketing a product that isn't some big tangible thing, when you're talking about $4,600, I mean, I want to see like the amp coil, the Nano V, the biocharger, a sauna, a hyperbaric chamber. It's like you want to see something big that's tangible. Like, oh, okay, I see why this costs this much, because I have this big gadget. But with NuCalm, I mean, I knew because I was using it, but other people, I'm assuming, were like, what? You get a little packet of stickers and access to an app for $4,000? Like, it's a tough buy-in unless you've tried it and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Right? So I feel sorry for you. I'm sorry that you had to go through that phase.
If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
Yeah. Just, I mean, if you're doing the conferences and stuff and people can experience something, then they're like, oh my God, I feel amazing. I don't care how much it is.
But even then, we've had at least 50,000 people try it, love it, and just couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And we always knew we have to get here. We will get here. And we've done it. We're here.
And so in the initial phases, you guys had an actual device and you had this GABA cream, right? And so there were like bits and pieces. And
we had a stimulation device, and you had neuro patches, and you had all this stuff, and it was clumsy. And it's amazing how quickly humans are to find shortcuts not to take care of themselves. They're like, oh, the batteries ran out, or oh, I ran out of patches. I'm like, it's not that difficult. Right. Would you like to go learn to meditate like a monk, or do you want to do NuCalm? Give us 20 minutes. We're going to take care of your life.
Yeah.
It's worth the investment. So, but people are amazing. They always find shortcuts. So they'll find excuses.
Admittedly, people send me stuff to try out, and some of it's really cool, but if it's too hard to use, then my compliance fades after a couple months. I'm like, I got to go get the thing and, put on the all the different parts and gadgets and straps. Like, I like this thing. This is the Apollo. I don't know if I told you about this. This thing's freaking amazing, dude.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it after the Apollo. Basically, this neuroscientist, PhD neuroscientist and psychiatrist, Dr. David Rabin, spent about 6 years, I think, doing clinical studies with different levels of vibration, different frequencies of vibration. And this has a menu, kind of like y'all's app. Mm-hmm. And you pick open and social, focus, sleep, whatever. And then, as crazy as it sounds, kind of like NuCalm might sound crazy to some people, you listen to shit and it makes you meditate. Yeah. You put this thing on, and it makes you happy and sociable, or makes you focus. It's crazy.
It's all frequency.
Yeah, it's so badass.
Focus is 15 hertz. So
and this is this I can use every day because it's easy. Like all I turn the Bluetooth off when I use it. So I have to go put it in the charger to reactivate the Bluetooth because I don't want Bluetooth on my wrist. And they were smart enough to build it in a way where you could disable it. But it has to be easy like this. Put on a wristband, click go on an app. Put on some headphones, click go on an app, put a sticker on. Like if it's not easy, people just won't keep doing it. And I do this shit basically for a living. And even I grow bored of things that are too complex.
Right.
Same biocharger, super cool. Pick your recipe, sit on your ass, and it does its thing. You know what I mean? Whereas getting in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, you got levers, zippers, pressure, all kinds of things. You got
in a float tank.
Yeah, you got to be super committed to use some of these biohacks. So I'm stoked for you guys and stoked to share what you're doing again. And I feel grateful to be able to do my part to try stuff out. And when I find shit that works, share it with people.
That's probably the most rewarding aspect of what we do. Take care of people.
Isn't it cool? And you get DMs from people like, oh my God, this changed my life. And I always think, what? I don't even remember that. Okay.
It's amazing.
Like some episode or some supplement or device or philosophy or whatever it was,
Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Especially it's in the positive side of the equation of our planet.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here to do.
Sweet. Well, is there anything else? Do we miss anything?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Cool. And I'll put the links, and all that stuff in the show notes. And when I record the intro later, I'll tell people where to go. But other than that, where can we find you on social media, website, etc.?
www.NuCalm, NuCalm.com.
Okay. Cool. And NuCalm Performance on Instagram.
Yep.
And those of you watching on Instagram, I think it's probably tagged on there right now. By the way, while we're at it, folks, follow me on Instagram at Luke Story. And you could have been one of the people watching this interview live in the flesh.
You missed out.
Yeah, we didn't. I like it when the dog does something or there's leaf blowers. I like when shit goes wrong in an interview because then I'm like, see, you guys got the raw behind the scenes. Today was actually fairly professional. So I think that's it, dude. Oh, no, it's not. I'm going to ask you again because I feel like I do ask people that have come on more than once, who are 3 teachers that have influenced your life?
Teachers, Bonnie
Yeah.
Strickland, psychology professor, University of Massachusetts, Tom Marks, wrestling coach, high school, and my 3 girls.
Nice.
You can learn a lot from the naivety of a child.
Yeah. How old are your girls?
18, 16, and 13.
Oh, okay. They're grown
3
up.
young women.
They're grown up. Damn.
It is. It's amazing.
And you're married, what, 27 years?
Yeah.
Wow. So you got 4 women in the house.
Yeah.
Wow. No wonder you have high empathy. Yeah. But going back to what you said about your mom, right?
Yeah.
You know, you got to have that. I thank God I was raised primarily by my mom because it helped me be able to relate in that way.
It's been amazing.
Be a feeling-centered person.
Yeah.
You know?
Raising girls is amazing.
Wow.
Women are so complicated. It's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
They can complicate everything. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Sitting at the dinner table, I'm like, what is going on here? It's just not that difficult. But men are simple.
Yeah.
You got that, everybody? Men are simple. What you think we think is what we think.
Yeah. Well, what did you mean by that, Jim? What I said.
Yeah. It's not that difficult.
Oh, good stuff, man. All right, dude. Well, thanks for coming by. I'm so glad we got to do another one in person.
Yeah.
You know, with the COVID drama, man, it was a drag having to go back to Zoom. I felt like a newbie again. I had to do Zoom in the beginning when I couldn't get someone to come over because they didn't know who the hell I was. So I've gotten kind of spoiled, and I'm glad that you're able to make some time.
A little humility never hurt anybody.
That's true.
A little pattern reset.
Well, you know, it's funny. Some of my top interviews in terms of downloads and popularity have been ones that I did on Zoom because it was a fire conversation and the guest was intriguing. Bruce Lipton, I think, is still my number 1 download, and that one was on. I did it on Skype at the time actually, and it was horrific because my internet kept going out and it was so embarrassing. I was like, I'm so sorry, Bruce or Dr. Lipton. I'm so sorry. Hang on. And I'd have to have him start over. And he was so gracious and patient. I thought, man, this dude really walks the walk. He's the real deal because he was so cool to me. And we still salvaged my number 1 episode.
Awesome.
But I just like when I get to know people and hang out. So thanks for coming by.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
You're the man.
Thanks, dude.
Okay. Be well.